Welcome to Launchpad Live, Spokane's Business Connection Show. I'm Monique Cotton.
And I'm Bill Kalivas. Today we are talking about two of my favorite topics, science and technology. Now, I may not have passed them in high school, but I still love them. Take a guess who wrote that.
I don't know where that came from. Technology and science are changing the way that we live and work in the Spokane region, and today we're talking about those very things and two programs that will really change the way you think about science and technology.
We'll talk about that and much more right now on Launchpad Live.
So, Bill, did you know that in order for us in the United States to maintain our leadership position in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, we are going to need to produce approximately 1 million more STEM professionals than currently projected? That's a lot.
That is a lot. So forget reading, writing, and arithmetic. We need to focus on STEM.
And so each week we like to talk to different representatives from our diverse online communities. And this week we would like to talk to Chris Major. He's the CEO of Mobius Science Center. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us about Mobius.
Mobius is in fact a science center, and it's part of the answer to the problem you were just identifying. We definitely have to train more scientists and engineers, and right now, as a society, we're not doing a particularly good job of it. And in part, Mobius is a solution. Well, it got started actually a number of years ago. There was a small group of visionaries who said, you know, we look at what's going on in the economy, and we saw then the early indicators about this need, and we realized that if you don't get kids early on interested in science and engineering and math, by the time they get to be seniors in high schools, it's too late. So the way that we get them is through experience. So we set out to get this thing started almost a decade ago, and it's been a long process, but we're now that close to having this thing done and complete and open.
So what would you say to people to make them really interested? Why is this something we should pay attention to?
Well, there's two reasons. One, at the most basic level, this is going to be fun, exciting, entertaining, engaging, something that the region has never seen before. And back to the more serious aspects of the mission, if you look at what's going on in the rest of the world, right now today as we sit here in India, they're going to graduate more college graduates with STEM-oriented degrees than we have kids in college. Right? As we sit here today in China, there are more kids in advanced placement classes in high school than we have kids in high school. Right?
Wow.
Our solution, shorten the school year and reduce budgets for schools. That's not how we're going to generate the STEM professionals and build the innovation economy. So we've got two tiers. On the simple personal level, this is going to be fun, great, and exciting. At a societal level, this is what we have to do to reverse that trend.
Yeah, so how does this help students and teachers? How do you get them involved?
Well, we get them involved because, of course, students are going to want to come here because it's exciting, because unfortunately what they're doing in schools is we're trying to learn science out of textbooks, which is why neither you or I were actually very good at it. Right?
Thanks, Monique.
Yeah.
Anyway. We talked a little bit
Word
before.
spread.
Right.
Right? And then we're going to be offering classes here. We're going to do work for teacher training. We're going to work with them to help support all their STEM standards by providing the experiential aspects that the schools simply don't have the resources to do.
So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Are there already models that we can learn from that are currently in action?
There are, and at the same time, we actually do need to reinvent this particular wheel. What you look at, and when we looked at other communities, is they've got a lot of kind of stale, old school science exhibits where you go and look at something or you push a button and something happens. We said we don't want that. We want our kids to be engaged, and that means they've got to have tactile interaction with things. So there's nothing out here where you just push a button and something happens. They've got to interact, they've got to do something, they've got to get involved, and then it's going to go and do whatever it does, and we want to go, wow, that was cool. Why did it do that? And there won't be any big science explanations. We want them to ignite their imaginations, get their curiosity sparked, and then go sort it out for themselves.Hy did it do that? We'll have resources around where they can do that, but the point is to get them involved in their own learning instead of being passive consumers of it.
So not give them the answer right away. They have to dig a little bit
Exactly.
for it.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So can you talk a little bit about the fundraising efforts and sort of where the funding comes from and how things stand with that?
Mobius is a $12 million project, and it has taken a very long time to get this all done. We're that close. We're about $500,000 short of what we need to get it open. But we're going to get that done. The bulk of the money comes from local companies, private donations, so the Spokane regional community is the fundamental source of funding. We've gotten grants from outside the region and from the state of Washington, but the bulk of the funding is coming from right here.
That's great. So can you give us the time frames again of when you're looking to open and maybe some other things that are coming up?
Sure. We're going to open up the first week in August. The doors will be open. We'll be open for business, and then we're going to have the big grand opening the first part of September once everybody's back from the lake and the kids are back in school.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. How's this going to impact the local economy?
Well, it's going to impact the local economy. Short term, we already impacted the local economy. We put $12 million into the local economy in the construction and building of the exhibits and all that. We're going to have 25 full-time jobs and 100 volunteers working down here on a permanent basis. And long term, the real goal is to get our next generation interested in STEM careers now, so they build those careers and they do it here. You don't have to go to Seattle or San Francisco to do those things, so we have a long-term economic engine. And finally, of course, it's going to be a tourist attraction. Our market, immediate market area is the Columbia River to Missoula, Montana. And if you look going east, we'll be the only science center between here and Minneapolis.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you're passionate about this at all.
I try this.
That's great. This is exciting, Chris. We're really thrilled to be here. You're a great host. It's been a lot of fun for us getting to know a little bit more about your organization. So you want to talk a little bit about your organization, how many folks you have on staff?
Well, as I say, right now we're just ramping up. We've got a little under 20 right now. We've got a long-serving board, and I want to acknowledge our board for this. There's a lot of people on our board who are big names in the community, and every single one of them has made Mobius the biggest donation they've ever made in their lives, and for many of them that's cumulatively. So when you look at our board of directors, these are people who are deeply, deeply committed to this project and the vision of it.
That's great. As you can imagine, I wasn't asked to be on the board. They actually need people with money.
What?
Yeah, just saying.
People that pass
Yeah,
science?
exactly.
Well, no, if they pass science, that leaves me out too.
Oh, well, we need a few good scientists around here. So tell us the relationship real quickly between Mobius Science Center and Mobius Kids, because there's a difference.
Excellent, there is. The history here, I kind of skipped over this with Bill's question, so let me back up. When we got started, we had this big vision for building a science center. At that moment in time, what was then the Spokane Children's Museum had gone dark. So we said, let's take this in steps. So we took over the Children's Museum, raised $700,000, and built out what's now Mobius Kids over there in the basement of River Park Square. For people who don't know, that's become one of the most successful children's museums in the country. Right? By the end of this year, we will have put 450,000 people through there. We've funded 12,000 scholarships for kids who couldn't otherwise have afforded to do it on their own. That thing's just been a hit. And then to make sure that we were on track, a couple years ago, we took a storefront out at Northtown, 1,000 square feet, put 6 exhibits in it, a little bit of signage, and we said, let's see what happens. We were shocked. We had 15,000 people go through this thing in 60 days. It was insane. So we built then the demand we know is there. We're going to keep Mobius Kids open. We're going to do a refurbishing of it so that it has a kind of a grand reopening when we open up the Science Center here, so both of them are going to be fresh and new, and we're going to take off from there.
That's great. Well, that's outstanding, Chris, and again, it sounds like the community's really rallied around this particular project, which is so critical, as you talked about STEM and the importance in the future economy and innovation. And our place in the world, really. And we're excited for you. I mean, this has been great, outstanding. So I think what we want to do now is maybe take a few questions from the audience. So if you don't mind, why don't we go ahead and do that?
How can people contribute to Mobius to ensure that you raise that last $500,000 that you need to raise?
Short answer is write us a check. And there's a number of ways in which we'll be happy to take them. So we're already selling charter memberships. We've got a series of levels for making permanent donations, and we'll be happy to take those. There's in fact material right on the back table if you'd like to take some of it with you. But you can get online on our website. There's all sorts of ways that you can do it, and we are happy to have any of them.
Can you describe a little bit what will be in the exhibits, kind of the topic areas and some of the new interactive technologies?
The way the place is set up is in thematic areas. So there's going to be space, the local geology. So we're going to have a big exhibit on the Missoula flood. There's going to be exhibits about the body. Upstairs on the mezzanine is physics and phenomena. And without sucking up all the airtime here, let me just tell you about one. We're going to have a series of what we call iconic exhibits, and one that we're particularly proud of is what they call a visualization table. I call it the autopsy table. You have to imagine a giant iPad, like 40 inches by 30 inches, and what they've done is taken high-resolution imagery of, I never say this right, a real live dead guy. Right? They found a dead guy all CSI-like in the alley with a knife sticking in him, not around here, of course, and then took all these high-res images. And what you do with the touch screen, pardon me, is if I go like that, then you can just pull open the guy's pants, go like that. I just pulled back the layer on the skin. I can keep doing that and take it right down, trace nerve endings, blood vessels. I can take the joint apart, rotate it 360 degrees. They're using these now to train doctors in Europe. We're going to be the first place, not just as a medical school, but the first place, period, in the United States to have one.
More like a modern version of the old game we used to play called Doctor.
Exactly. It's like that. You know, all the excitement of a dissection without any of the gore.
Yeah. Take out wrenched ankle.
Yeah. It looks like a wrench.
Exactly. That's outstanding. Any other questions?
Tech robotics. Will you be having robotics?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We're going to have, it's going to sound funny, but a robot bar out here. So the local provider Mind's Eyes, we're going to set up a whole series of kits, and kids will be able to come in, put together robots, run them across the floors, do competitions. We did our first classes. You're sitting in our classroom here. We did our first classes over spring break. The building wasn't even done yet. We had a robotics class in here for 8- and 9-year-olds. It was absolutely astonishing to watch them.
Thank you so much for being here, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Chris Majors, CEO of Mobius Science Center. If you'd like to know more, you can go to mobiusspokane.org, or you can come on down and visit us.
You come on down.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Chris. And now we're very pleased to welcome representatives from the Spokane STEM Network. With us today we have Brian Pitcher, Chancellor of WSU Spokane. Welcome, Brian.
My pleasure.
We also have Shelley O'Quinn. She's Director of Education and Workforce from Greater Spokane Incorporated. Welcome, Shelley.
Happy to be here.
All right, I have to ask the silly question that's probably on everybody's mind. What is STEM? Brian, you want to start?
I'll start. STEM is an innovation in education. The letters stand for science, technology, engineering, math, but it's more than science and technology and engineering math courses. It's interdisciplinary, hands-on, team-oriented, action-based education that includes entrepreneurship, innovation, creative thinking, design thinking. It's an innovation in how we learn.
That's great. So basically it's just science, technology, engineering, and math.
Not just.
Not just.
It's how they fit together.
Okay, perfect.
And how you solve life's problems and how you use your learning skills to research and improve the world, solve problems, using those tools.
Excellent. Okay.
So why is STEM something we should pay attention to, Shelley?
I think as Chris Major mentioned in his interview about Mobius, he gave you that big picture. We have, you mentioned we have 1 million jobs that are going to be created in the STEM field. They're going to go unfilled by 2018. You bring that to Washington State. Why do we care about STEM? We have 5,000 jobs that are projected to be unfilled in the next 5 years, all related to STEM.
So it relates back to the economy, it relates back to jobs.
Economy, jobs.
Innovation.
Innovation, what we need for our local community, our state to be competitive as a nation.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about what the STEM network is?
Oh, absolutely. May I just add to Shelley's comment about the why? If we can localize that, please consider that while 14% of the current jobs are in STEM-related fields, in the jobs of the future, as we create jobs, STEM jobs will grow twice as fast as other employment. 65% of that will be in healthcare-related fields here in our community. Almost all of that will require post-secondary education, and half of that a baccalaureate degree. So we need to get students, our sons and daughters, ready early to engage.
And so what happens if we don't? I mean, really, that's the question we probably need to ask ourselves. If we're not embracing STEM, then what do we face?
Well, we face jobs going overseas. Yeah. We face, our sons and daughters being underemployed. And this is all about creating employment opportunity, industry growth, economic well-being, community well-being for Washington, for the Northwest, for the United States of America.
Can you talk a little bit about what's already happening around Spokane with STEM, Shelley?
Sure. as we go back to the STEM learning network, which we're working on creating, we're working at integrating K-12, higher education, and business to really have a focused effort on STEM education in our region. We have all these great programs going on. We have First Robotics, the new Meade STEM Academy, the new Valley Tech School that's being developed, Mesa. You can list a whole list of activities, programs, projects, but they're not coordinated. We need to bring all of them together, working towards the same common goal so that we can develop that workforce that we need for our future as a region.
So as we're really working on coordinating this effort, are there other models that we can look to kind of base our model off of? Right?
We're not the first in the country to do this. With support from Washington STEM, a business organization that's investing in STEM throughout the state, we've had the opportunity to visit STEM networks in Ohio and North Carolina. I mean, you're going to find them in Massachusetts and California and Oregon. We have an opportunity, we believe, to do it really better here in the state and better here because of our experience with partnering school district to school district, higher education. We already work together. We work with business, Greater Spokane Incorporated. We're working with the YW and YMCA and Girl Scouts, and Mobius, is a terrific opportunity to leverage. So it's bringing all of these assets in a complementary way to give all of our sons and daughters an immersion experience in STEM.
That's great. So Shelley, can you talk a little bit about your role at GSI and how GSI is involved in the Spokane
Why
STEM?
we care?
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
I get that question a lot. Why do I work so much in education and workforce development? And really, we have, as a business community, we have a need for a future workforce. If you look related specifically to STEM, healthcare is our largest industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that employs over 35,000 people. If you look at manufacturing, we have over 500 manufacturers in Spokane County. Very little known fact, employing over 18,000 people. If you look at the age of those workers, the median age is in the 50s. So they're going to be retiring in the next several years, and we don't have that workforce ready to take over those positions. So there is not only an immediate need, but there's a future need for a STEM workforce to be developed in our community. So as GSI, we want to make sure we're working with our education system so that they are developing the workforce that we need for our community.
That's great.
So we know that we're collaborating right now. We're working with other organizations in the community to really get this STEM partnered up. So where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, we're just beginning. We have relationships, but the STEM network is going to be an action focus to really move the dial on indicators such as college readiness and the percentage of our high school graduates who are prepared and interested in STEM fields and go on and complete them successfully. So we're going to focus on plans and strategies to really make a difference in seeing from pre-K all the way to career to fill the pipeline and keep them in the pipeline. We're also going to really be focused on the underserved. We have neighborhoods, we have schools that are not we're not having the achievement that we deserve and they deserve. So we're going to focus on how to help them by working together.
So really focus on training young people and then measuring the results, right?
Yes.
Is that
to
part
give
of
you
it?
some history, we've been working on this for a year. Last June, we met with Washington STEM and had a conversation with them. We brought together K-12, higher ed business leaders to start a conversation, say, is this something as a community that we are interested in doing? And could we pull this off? And we said, if we can get $35 million twice for a medical school, we can pull off anything. And we said, of course we can. Spokane's known for our innovation for making things happen. And so we started this process of meeting. It started out with the River Point Math Science Partnership, which is a collaboration of those partners around science and math. And we started these meetings and moving forward and developed a plan. We have now hired, he started this week, an executive director who will lead us into the next phase, which is developing the business plan for our community that takes the input from all of the stakeholder groups and puts it together on how we really move forward in developing a real plan of action for our community around STEM.
That's great. Yeah, I'm seeing a theme here that's developed over the last 10 years with WSU Spokane, Brian, and your leadership, and GSI, and Rich, Hadley, and your leadership. Really, both organizations really collaborating and pulling more programs and more organizations together to tackle some of these big projects that probably a lot of people 10, 15 years ago would have said, oh, that'll never work, that'll never happen, but you guys have pulled it off. And I think we have a lot of more work to do, obviously, but it's to be commended.
Well, thank you, but it's really a community project. And this one in particular, it's Eastern Washington University, community colleges, the school districts, we're all at the table together. Gonzaga and Whitworth have joined the discussion. So, it's going to be, we're going to focus on instructional models, teacher preparation, how to involve families more effectively and share all these ideas and learn from one another. That's what a network is.
That's awesome. So how can people get involved? Individuals, businesses, organizations?
We have our contact information is SpokaneSTEM.org.
Okay.
They can also visit the Washington STEM website. Washington STEM is a $100 million 10-year investment in STEM education for Washington State, and they're the organization that has come in and has funded this project. And so if people are interested in learning more about a STEM learning network or about different activities going on around STEM education in the state, they can go visit their website or SpokaneSTEM.org for local information on getting involved.
Great.
Well, Brian Pitcher and Shelley O'Quinn, thank you so much for being here. Now, here's the ultimate test. Do you think you could get Bill to pass science the second time around? Do you think you could maybe
I'll pass that off to Brian.
See, they're already handing it off.
Yeah. So what they don't know is it actually used to be a hobby of mine. I used to study endoplasmic reticulum all the time.
Oh, right.
It was one of my favorite subjects.
Of course you did.
Yeah. That's the only phrase I remember. I just thought I'd throw that out there. And proteomics.
Sounds really sweet.
We're not going to be satisfied with any students not being successful, and that's the goal.
All right.
Even Bill.
You can even help me.
Even Bill. Well,
That's
to
right.
learn more, you can visit SpokaneSTEM.org. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How does STEM fit into this whole education reform and injecting creativity and finding ways to find aptitude in kids that's different than getting an A in advanced science and math?
For someone who's not from the education world, I'm coming out of the business side of this and have been thrown into the education world. I've had an opportunity over the last year to tour different schools around the country. And what I would say is that while we talk STEM, we need to realize that STEM is beyond science, technology, engineering, math, that it's about a way of thinking, it's about investigating, it's about innovation. And in all of the schools that I've seen, what we've realized is that we could continue teaching our students with methodologies, the same fashion we've done for the last 100 years, which is not working. Or we can look at, STEM provides us an opportunity to be innovative in how we do school and how we teach our kids. That brings that hands-on. And I saw STEM in the different schools that we visit. I saw STEM in art, in history, in civics. I saw it in all of it. And so it's really a way of thinking, and it's project-based learning. It's a way of doing school differently that will, I believe, allow our kids to succeed.
How teachers become better teachers or different teachers than they are today for the kids who aren't making it through today's curriculum. What does it take to get teachers prepared?
Boy, I wish I had all of the answers. A focus area on the Spokane STEM network will be looking at, pulling together the best teachers and sharing ideas and doing professional development. We've already had great success in the Math Transition Project, which really Eastern, the community colleges have led and done very effectively in building an awareness of how math is taught in middle school and high school and helping one another. We recognize that there are multiple forms of intelligence and multiple ways that people learn, and we just need to be more aware of it and build curricula that create more opportunity. We're seeing great success in these programs, but they need to be scaled up.
And I would just like to add, I think it's a great question, because as we look at, going back to your comment about education reform, we can talk about education reform all we want, but if we don't go back to our teacher preparation programs and address how we prepare teachers who then go in and teach our students, if you expect different outcomes because you decide to measure something differently but never change the input that you're putting into the equation, you're just going to continue getting the same results. So I do believe that we fundamentally need to invest in professional development for our current teachers, and that's an important component that we can't forget. And we also need to address how we're teaching our teachers who are teaching our students.
All right, well, let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Thank you for being here. So I'd like to encourage everyone to check out Launchpad Live at launchpadinw.com. And you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter and learn more about Launchpad events. And you can also learn more about our services and build relationships. Really, you want to check out the local resources. So if you also have comments or feedback regarding the show, or maybe you want me to do something a little more interesting, you can be a guest on the show, or you want to follow us on Twitter, check out launchpadinw.com, and we hope to see you there.
Wow, that was quite a mouthful. Thank you for joining us on Launchpad Live. As always, it is our goal to help connect you to the best and the brightest in our business community and inspire you to achieve your personal definition of business success. Thanks for joining us.